technology. A long time ago, when I was a laywoman, I used to have a job, and I lived about a mile away from, no, I lived about 4 miles away from work, but I used to walk to the office every day. And while I was walking to the office, there were certain beggars, and always the same homeless person was always begging at the same corner. And my procedure was to say hello and to just greet them in a friendly way, and then I give them a little something. But the main thing that seemed to be so precious to those poor folks was they would be sitting on the street corner, and hundreds of people would walk by, and nobody would look at them. Nobody would see them. Even if they made a donation of some money, they would just drop it and not look, not see the person. So from that, I learned how precious it is to be seen. And I think that there's something to be said for, at the beginning of the meditation, having a bit of like a check-in. How are I? How are you? How am I? What's going on with me today? Is the mind very excited and agitated, very jumpy? Is the mind ready to fall asleep? Could it be that we've been running and running and running like on a roller coaster? And then when we sit down to meditation, it's like, oh, just to relax for a minute. And then you have like a minute of relaxation, and then you're falling asleep because like you're on the roller coaster. You're going between excitement and sleep without room for the mindfulness in the middle. Or it could be that there's some kind of a aversion going on, something that is dislikable, that's unpleasant. Perhaps you got into a negative situation during the day, and the mind doesn't want to let go of that negative situation. No matter how hard you try to just sit and pay attention to meditation, the mind keeps going back and went around and around that same story. Whatever the state is, you'll never be able to bring your mind into balance unless you can see what the state of mind is really like and acknowledge it. I can give another example by telling a funny story about myself. Around the time that I first heard about Buddhism, at that time I was single, and I had gotten a crush on somebody, but it wasn't working out. And so I went on a weekend meditation retreat at the temple, at the Bhavana Society. And throughout the whole retreat, I kept reviewing, like, well, if I had done this differently, maybe, my affection would be returned. Or what if I had tried that? Maybe that would make it turn out differently. And it took me like more than 2 days of struggling until finally this was my stroke of insight. I said, oh, they don't love me. And I was like, what a relief, just to accept reality. So you'll never be able to meditate unless you accept reality about what's going on with you. I already mentioned 3 out of the 5 hindrances, whether the mind is restless or whether it's sleepy, or whether it's affected by aversion or something that you don't like, or whether it's affected by greed, something that you do like that you're trying to get it. Of course, now in that story I told you, I had both greed and aversion at the same time, because I was greedy for love, and I was very sad and miserable about not getting what I wanted. And then the last one of the hindrances is about it's called skeptical doubt. And when you sit for meditation, it won't work unless you have at least enough faith or enough confidence in the teaching to be willing to give it a try. If you're thinking, maybe I should be going to a different church, or maybe I'm not really good enough. Maybe I just don't deserve to get the benefits of this meditation because I'm a rotten person, and so this is never going to work for me. Or maybe this teacher is not the right teacher, and is the teacher really enlightened or not? And maybe I should try a different teacher down the street. So when the mind is going around like that, you're not really able to make a sincere effort. So then when you admit to what's going on, then it's possible to notice at the feeling level, like how does it feel? Like how does it feel to be me right now? This is before you go deep in meditation, just as a preliminary. How does it feel to be me? And if it feels really great, then please don't get too excited. Just say, okay, that's pleasant. But don't get too excited about it. Just say, okay, it's pleasant. If it feels like not okay, it could be something social, something mental. It could be something physical with the body. Maybe you have an illness or injury and the body is not your friend on a particular day. Then try to sort of relax about that and just acknowledge it's not pleasant, but it's okay. Pleasant and unpleasant doesn't make that much difference. You're not a puppet. You don't have to be controlled by whether it's pleasant or unpleasant. You can just see, okay, it's pleasant. I don't get too excited. Okay, it's unpleasant. I don't get too excited. If the mind is affected by restlessness, then it's good to take a style of meditation that's more focused, focused on a specific procedure. So you might decide, like on the breath meditation, to count the breath from 1 to 5 and from 5 to 1, 1 to 5 and 5 to 1, and see if it's possible to make it all the way to 5 without being distracted. And just keep working that until you are able to stay with it by counting. Or it could be like just noticing the sensation, like at a very small place, like That's essentially just know the breath on the lips. And try to like really focus in on that strongly. And if there's some other thought comes along, ignore it. That's the concentration method, aiming for concentration. You might not get concentration, but you might get better mindfulness if you're aiming at something narrow to try to tame that restless mind. It's like taking an animal who's like a wild colt or something, and you tie the colt onto a post on a long rope, and it goes around and around and around and around, and it runs really fast, but it's still tied to the post. And then eventually it goes slower and starts walking, and then eventually it will just stand. That's taming the restless mind. If the mind is sluggish, then it may be that it won't work to just aim for concentration, because it's not like interesting enough to keep the mind engaged. So it might be like if someone was doing breath meditation and you want to keep the mind awake, you may notice the breath where it's clear and noticeable, like it could be around the chest, it's noticeable, or in the belly, it's noticeable, and then sort of like expand the area that you can notice. Like you can notice like the entire torso is moving slightly with the in and out breath. And then you can expand a little bit more, and you can see, oh, there's a sensation in the throat with the in and out breath. Oh, there's a sensation of the sinuses with the in and out breath. And one can sort of like expand so that one is making the whole body to be aware of the breath. And doing that is, it's giving the mind a little bit more in activity, to be involved and engaged and sort of like exploring. It's giving the mind more freedom, but you're still giving the mind a corral, a space that the mind is can do anything it wants as long as it's paying attention to breath in that case, but it's more activated. Another way that I've heard recommended in long meditation is like breathing in, aware of the breath, and then just at the pause between the breaths, become aware of the sensation of the hands touching. Then you breathe out, aware of the breath, and then aware of the hands touching. So where your attention is going back and forth between the breath and the hands, and you're doing that. This is just a trick, but it's a trick that's designed to keep the mind aware and awake. If the mind is affected by greed, let's take the example I gave you, like some person, that you're greedy about some person. You could do a preliminary contemplation about that person in order to help the mind to settle down and to stop being so agitated about that person. I recommend the death meditation. Imagine that that person has passed away and is just lying as a cold corpse with no breath. And imagine that the corpse of your dear friend or your dear person, the person who you care about, has become like starting to get bloated and starting to smell, starting to be eaten by maggots, starting to be eaten by animals. Just having the flesh right away, so you just have the bones. And eventually, through that meditation, there's just a few scattered bones left where the person turns to dust. And as you go through that contemplation, your greed about that person, your agitation about that person can be released, and then you'll be ready to sit for meditation. So all of these procedures are more active, like a contemplation, a reflection, thinking. It's not yet at the level of like a silent meditation, but these preliminary practices can help prepare the mind to then be willing to be quiet. I know that this is a longer program today, or it's long for me. At home, we usually have 1.5 hours instead of 2 hours. So for that reason, I've given this much preliminary suggestions. And I think I'd like now to invite you to take 1 minute to just look within and see how you are. And I'd like to ask for your speech about how are you right now? If anybody's like to say, how are you? How am I today? Sami?
I feel like I have a lot of active energy. I'm like jittery a little bit. And so, yeah.
So you can think about calming down. Any other ideas?
I'm feeling calm, but I do have physical tension in my back.
Okay. It's a good observation.
If that makes two of us.
Do the people in the room said, then they also feel like that.
Okay. I'm going to apologize to you because I'm wearing hearing aids, except they didn't get plugged in properly, and so they're not here at the moment. I can hear that.
So they're not hearing, they're not hear aids.
They're not hearing aids. They're not aiding my hearing at the moment. Ayya, Sachika, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I feel a little tired now.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's already almost 9 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah, in Germany.
Yeah, but my day was very calm and happy, and I feel very satisfied today. I met a lot of nice people. Yeah, so
Wonderful to hear. Very good, very good.
mm,
Even though it's late at night, you may stir up the energy.
yeah,
And remember, there's only this one lifetime to realize whatever you're going to realize in this lifetime. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So try to bring up all your sincerity to make the best of this evening, because tomorrow could be too late.
that's true. Yeah.
Okay. And so having done that preliminary, would it be okay to sit in meditation for 45 minutes?
I want to shake your legs out a little bit if you.
I've been reviewing the past talks that we've had over the years.
Oh, okay.
So I could even send you the date of the last time I had the same idea.
Okay.
So I was just thinking about checking in to see what the mood or the state of mind is at the beginning, and give yourself some preliminary contemplation to balance the mind and to decide which style of meditation is most suitable for the state of mind that you bring. So if the mind is sleepy, you bring a meditation that's active. If the mind is very scattered, you bring that kind of meditation that's focused. If the mind is affected by greed or aversion, you contemplate on death to make the mind become settled.
Thank you, Ayya.
And if the mind is falling asleep, you think about urgency, spiritual urgency, to bring up that energy, bring up that determination. I was going to ask if there were any reports about the meditation or questions about the practice of meditation or about the Dhamma. And if you don't have any questions, I've got an idea of what to speak about. But I'd like to know if there's anything on your mind this morning.
This was very helpful to me.
Okay. Everything in our programming, as a human being, when we are facing illness, our genetic programming that we've inherited for 1,000,000 years, our cultural programming that we got from our parents, our childhood, and our society, everything is saying, I want to live, I want to live. And so that brings up a constant level of activation to do what you can do in order to support life. Now, there's nothing wrong about that, nothing evil about that, but this desire to live creates additional stress for you. So if you could reflect that there's something that's even more important than life itself. I'm not sure about your belief system, but if you believe in karma and rebirth, then you know that according to if I can keep my own intentions clean and keep my mind in a good direction, that it will save me from suffering in the life to come. And actually, the keeping the mind in a pure state is even more important than what's going on with this physical body. If you have another kind of belief system, if you're completely agnostic or skeptical or materialist, and you don't think that there's going to be an afterlife, nevertheless, you can realize that the state of mind, the pure state of mind that you can keep right now, is so precious. And try, if you can, to let go of worrying, stressing, ruminating, thinking, why is it not working the same as before? Did my doctors make a mistake? Am I doing something wrong? All of the different thoughts that we have, all the judgments, the criticism, and so on and so forth, as much as you can, at least during meditation, to forget about that. Like at the end of your meditation, you can work on your health. But during the meditation, try relaxing as fully as you can. And that is a way of giving your mind a vacation from worry. And it's profoundly healing. If you can take some time off, don't be worrying about life or worrying about health 24 hours a day, because that creates too much stress, and the stress then becomes another negative thing. Now the sound. You're muted, Meredith. There.
Not anymore. Okay, yeah. I had an experience some time ago of present moment awareness.
Yes.
And I realized that, yes, I might have illnesses or pain or whatever, but my happiness is not dependent on that.
Yes. Perfect. Keep coming back to that thought as often as you can.
Yeah.
And during meditation, try to completely let go of worrying and planning and thinking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So now, while I'm listening, the sound system is good. And when I'm talking, there's a little echo in here.
It seems that my system has decided to pick up the sound. It seems that my system has decided to pick up the sound both from my laptop and from my camera, which is never done before. So I am having to mute my laptop when you're speaking and unmute my laptop when Meredith was speaking, even though I am muted. It's never happened before. I don't know. Maybe somehow disconnecting from the from that device did something.
We have this circumstance at my home community. When I'm just giving the talk and it's just me and this computer, everything is fine. But then when there's more than one person speaking, they have a mixing board. And the various microphones are connected to this other large machine, and there's an operator who's making the machine go. So there can be several different voices happening in the same room. Most of the time, the people who come to me in the weekly meditation have been facing too much stress, too much agitation. Even if somebody is out about in the world, if they're aware of what's going on in the world, you are in the presence of evil. There's people out there who are dominated by anger, who think that anger is a great thing, and who are trying to stir up even more anger. And then to resist all of that agitation requires even a lot of self-discipline. It would be like if you are a professional diplomat going to a foreign country and trying to negotiate something, and everybody's very concerned about, their self-interest, and you can't just say what's on your mind. You have to think, what's going to be the impact of what I say, and is it going to be, how is it going to be received? How is it going to be understood? Is it going to be in agreement with the instructions I got from my home country? And so on like that. There is a quality in one who's a wonderful Buddhist practitioner who's been developing their right speech for a long time. And they actually do have that kind of care and consideration in the way that they speak. So just because internally somebody feels frightened or they feel frustrated or something like that, they would suppress those negative emotions, bring out the thought of compassion, and then have that wish for the welfare of the person they're speaking to, and then allow the speech to be emerging from that place of compassion. That's quite a lot of processing. It might, I know it could take you more than an hour. It could take you even more than a day to stop reacting and get into a mind of compassion. But somebody who's really trained, who's really worked on this for a long time, can do that almost immediately on the instant, bringing up tact and diplomacy and compassion, consideration, a sort of like intentionality. Let my speech for the welfare of me, for the welfare of the other person, and for the welfare of both, and have that speech be so skillful and so gentle. I'm not always there myself. Sometimes I can, and sometimes it's like being trapped in a sticky wicket, and I just can't never think of the right thing to say. But then I see other Buddhist practitioners who are so beautiful, and they have the talent to help everybody to relax. And when people are, sort of in some kind of contention or a contest of wills, or a debate about what should be done, being able to help them to relax. And so the same thing, you can develop that skill with other people, and also you got to be skillful with your own self. You are the most precious person. And if you are thinking thoughts that are against yourself, like I'm no good, I deserve to be punished, or that I'm not able to, I'm so weak, I can't do it. These kind of self-talking, which is actually not wholesome, then it's good to I sometimes do an exercise like there's a committee inside my head. So I imagine that there's one person in my head who's the critic, who's saying, "Oh, you're not good enough, you can't doing that." And I kind of talk to that lady and I say, "Mrs. Critic, if you had your way, what is it that you're trying to accomplish? What do you want?" And then it gets to be sometimes like it's so like shockingly stupid. What some of the people inside my head are really dumb. The emotional, reactive ones are so dumb. But just to hear someone say, and then they say, "Well, I really think you're no good and you're never going to make it." And I said, "Well, okay, thank you for sharing." You don't have to obey you. And so that is a way of we don't want to be in denial about our inner state, but we want to realize that we have the power to choose what kind of thoughts we welcome. So the thoughts that you would welcome would be the thought of kindness, the thought of compassion, the thought of joy, the thought of calmness. Those are the 4 Brahma Viharas. And so if the voice in your head is one of those, then you can welcome that kind of thought. Like it's, oh, precious, like this is another thing that happened to me. I can tell so many terrible stories about myself because nobody will criticize me for telling funny stories about myself. There was one occasion that I was at a big Buddhist event. This was a Tipitaka chanting. They had more than 100 bhikkhus and bhikkhunis chanting the words of the Buddha in Pali language. So it was a wonderful event.
Which one?
This was the one in Berkeley. But while I was there, a particular person said something to me that got me ticked off. And I was sitting in this beautiful room with so much inspiration and all these monks, and I was thinking, why do they talk to me like that? Why do they? It's so unfair. It's not fair. Why do they talk to me like that? And so, and I wasn't I wasn't really able to shake it off easily. But then it went into the chanting. And so we were chanting the words of the Buddha, and the different groups took turns leading the chanting, and each group had their own style. And in particular, one of the groups, I think this was either the Lao monks or the Cambodian monks, and they started like chanting in this one way. It's like very beautiful. And then one of the voices was coming in like on a harmony, and the chanting was so wonderful, and the meaning was so great. And my mindfulness was good. So I forgot to be angry. I forgot my grudge during that chanting. And I was mindful enough, I knew that the grudge had gone away and that I wasn't angry anymore. And, they say that losing the hindrances is like getting out of jail. It was exactly like I was getting out of jail for the first time and said, oh, freedom, oh, freedom. And then I was flooded with so much love for that person who had spoken to me. And so this is showing that you can't really control the mind in terms of what kind of thoughts and reactions come in. But if they're negative, just try to be mindful, but try not to nourish those negative thoughts. But then if wholesome thought comes in, then you should see that. You should notice it clearly. Sometimes people, this is again because of the way that nature made us through our evolution. If you were a primitive person off in the jungle trying to survive off of whatever they could find, whatever food they could find, if there's a poison snake in front of you and you didn't notice the snake, then you could be dead in a hurry. So your ability to see danger is really good. You have a really good ability to see things that are dangerous and harmful to you. But if you see a delicious strawberry, or if you go by a delicious strawberry, but you didn't notice it, and you forgot to eat that strawberry, well, you would still live long enough to find another strawberry. And so for that reason, your natural ability to notice things that are wholesome is not as sharp and as well developed as your ability to see things that are negative and dangerous. But the Buddha encouraged the middle path, and part of that is to be balanced, so that in what they call the right effort, this is part of the Noble Eightfold Path, samavayama, the right effort, you can be aware of the negative states and take care of them, and also be aware of the positive states and take care of the positive states. So it's really important to be balanced like that. And so facing any kind of a danger, like a serious illness, or facing any other kind of problem in life, whether it be social problems or problems related to work or problems related to survival, anything like that, it's very important to have the balanced mind and be able to dismiss or denourish negative and stressful states of mind as much as possible during the day. But while you're in meditation, it's best, if possible, to have a complete rest from the negative states of mind. They say, the brain people say that the nerves that fire together wire together. You know what that means? So if you have a very frightening experience, it creates like a channel in the very complex, like there's hundreds, thousands, and thousands of different connections inside the brain, and millions of different alternative ways that things can be experienced, and millions of occasions every day in which there's some kind of something that's coming through our experience, and the mind is making a guess about what it means. So if you this happened to me too. I did see a snake. This was in Florida. That snake was gigantic. It was and I had walked by the snake on the way to the toilet, and then I had to walk by the snake a second time to get back. And the snake put his head up, and it was a really big snake, and it rattled. So then for 24 hours after that, every time I saw like a vine or a rope or something, I was just jumping out of my skin, because it's like it got strongly triggered. But then I kept thinking snake, snake, snake all day long. I think it's snake, snake, snake. And so somebody could go through their whole life or go for years, depending on the situation, thinking danger, danger, danger. And then the part of the brain that's reacting to danger wires together. What fires together wires together, and you become super sensitive to danger. You spend your whole life with too much adrenaline, too much stress, and make yourself ill. So if that person could learn how to meditate for calmness, to meditate for equanimity, then they would be able to allow the natural healing ability of the mind to see something different. So just Meredith, you mentioned before you had your great moment of insight, in which you realized that you don't have to be controlled by illness, and that in the present moment it doesn't control you, that you have that freedom. You recognize that. So that thought, that experience is something that can give a chance for literally for the brain to reorganize itself in a different pattern, which is a pattern that supports equanimity and supports calmness. I want to have time for a conversation, and I know I rambled on. I thought it was too much time from 2 until 4. I'd like to invite anybody who can tell me, how do you attain calmness when you've become agitated? How can you, especially in meditation, how can you come down to calmness to make the mind relaxed?
I can share one.
Okay.
My son, he's 4, but he was really sick a couple of years ago, and he used to get just sick for like
3 times louder. And while I turn this towards you. It's on him, right? I can't see. Okay, go for it.
Oh,
I mean, sometimes it's sound helps. It kind of breaks the, my thought pattern a little bit, or it kind of puts me in a more relaxing state so that I can begin to calm my mind.
When I choose the sound settings, it says select a speaker. When you choose your sound settings, do you get to select a speaker?
I don't know what it's up to today.
Sound, that arrow. Okay, what speaker is it?
Select a microphone, select a speaker. Speaker Realtek, same as system, speaker Realtek audio.
You're gonna try changing that to the different,
You
now, Sammy. If you speak,
oh, can you hear me? Test.
I'm gonna try something different.
Okay.
Now try.
Can you hear me now?
No.
Try again.
I'm talking now again.
And try again.
I am here and I am talking.
One more time.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes. Okay,
Okay.
perfect.
It
But
works.
Not sure about Ayya Sobhana speaking. I'm muted and it's echoing in my laptop. And I don't know how that's possible.
Might have to turn the speakers off on your laptop.
Turn your microphone off.
Microphone or speakers, right? Because your microphone is muted.
My speakers are off.
There's
The
speakers.
people cannot speak from the audience in Zoom.
No, but I mean, the speakers on your laptop. Is that where is the sound coming from her laptop or here?
I'm sorry, I'm not technical enough to deal with anything except my computer. It's bad enough to teach mine. They even give me a telephone and I can hardly learn how to use a telephone.
Okay. Well, anyway, so Jane just made us
Can I go back to what we're
comment
looking
about
for?
sound. So I think it's just best to continue as we have it.
Okay, Sammy, give us your comment, and if necessary, I'll repeat your comment.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I was just saying my son was really sick for a long time. And so I used to just sit with him for a day at a time and just be patient. And so now I look at myself and I kind of feel my suffering and I put that same feeling to it. So
Okay.
yeah.
So you're remembering when you were sitting with your son during his illness,
Mhm.
helping him to be comforted and be calm,
Yeah.
and give that same sense of mother love to your own self.
Yeah.
Ah, beautiful. Very beautiful.
That's lovely.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
So answering your question, I calm myself particularly anytime, but especially I guess I'm particularly aware of it in meditation by becoming super aware of the body. And just go back to mindfulness of the body. And that can include mindfulness of the breathing, but it's not specifically mindfulness of the breathing. It's really whole body awareness.
Yeah. I have a theory about how that works. My idea is that the body and the brain are connected, and it gets into a feedback loop. So if you're not aware, then the state of the body is affecting the thoughts, and then the thoughts are feeding the body, and the synergy is going back and forth, sort of like escalating, as long as you're not aware of it. But then mindfulness is like a wonderful sunshine. And then if you can, and it's much easier sometimes to see the body than it is to see the thoughts as they arise. If you notice the tension in the body, just seeing it can allow it to start relaxing and start settling down. Because the body is just the body. The physical feeling is just a physical feeling. So it's by seeing, that's called vipassana. One translation of vipassana, it's translated as insight. It's also seeing things separately, seeing the different components. Each one is its own separate aspect. And so like that voice of that critic inside my head is a separate thing. And so when you see things, the different components, the different parts separately, then they don't have that much power. It's when you're not aware that they can all get sort of like tied together into a big web. And then the web is like unbreakable. Yeah. But I want to also encourage trying to find specific types of meditation that are more calm. Like insight is one way to calm down. Mindfulness is a way to calm down. But a meditation, we were talking this morning about the elements meditation. So if you just take one element, there's the earth element in the body. That's the parts of the body that are hard, like the teeth or the skull, or the parts that are earthy, like the muscles. You take the earthiness of the earth element and compare it with the earthiness of the earth outside and the mountain and the all the things that are hard outside. And it's just earth element. Okay, so is the earth element upset? How can it be upset? It's just earth element. It's just an element. It's not upset. It's not greedy. It's not anything. It's just an element. So the Buddha said, what you pay attention to becomes the inclination of the heart. So if you take some time, just pay attention to the earth element inside of you and outside of you, inside of you, both in and out. It helps the mind to become calm. Now, the earth element is also rigid. So if you paid attention to the earth element alone, if that's the only meditation you do, your heart could become rigid, like the earth element. So that's why you pay attention to the other elements also, like the water element is flowing. So you look at like your tears or your urine or your the saliva in the mouth. And then outside you got the rain and the creek and the ocean. It's just water. And it's flowing. So you pay attention to that. You've got the air element is the movement, like the wind element, like the breath. So the breath comes and goes. It's moving, always moving. And outside the wind is always moving. All of nature is always vibrating with life and the movement of nature. And so, but it still is just an element. And so if you go one by one with the different elements, your mind doesn't become too much flighting, like if you do nothing but wind element, your heart can become very flighty, and if you do too much of the earth element, the mind can become too stuck. Right? So do the elements one by one, but the elements meditation is really good for becoming calm. So if you're having trouble finding that space of calmness, one really good way to do it is to do that contemplation about the elements. You can find different videos and information if you search for elements meditation. But we talked about right effort, choosing what kind of thoughts you're going to nourish and keep, and what kind of thoughts you're going to de-nourish them and let them go. We talked about mindfulness and the power of the sunlight of mindfulness to let the agitation calm down, because it's seen like separated, like the body part and the mental part. The different parts are separated, seen very clearly, seen very distinctly, and when you see them, they can calm down just by mindfulness. And this is the third thing I'm giving you. I'm giving you 3 parts of meditation: are right effort, right mindfulness, and right samadhi, right calmness. So the samadhi is when you do the kind of meditation that's just addressed to learning how to let the mind be still and be calm. And if you have not learned that kind of meditation, there's several different ways of doing it. One of the ways that I'm mentioning here is the elements meditation. It's a way of helping the mind be calm. And then when the mind is calmed down, when the agitation is gone, when the distressing thoughts are away, and you feel that sense of not being pulled around by emotions, then you can just come into meditation and just watch the breath, or just watch a simple object of meditation. While you're meditating, you're not hurting anybody. You're not hurting yourself. You're not hurting anybody else. You're in a completely safe space. And in that safe space, even though you don't know how to make yourself better, but inside, like subconsciously, or the body, the mind, at some level, you know how to get better. Like the brain knows how to get better. The body knows how to get better. And when you're completely relaxed and calmed and staying in that pure place, then the body can heal itself and the mind can heal itself. And that happens naturally. You don't have to do it by willpower. You just allow nature to take its course. So that's my
Sadhu, sadhu,
Sadhu,
sadhu.
sadhu.
Sadhu.